Hey everyone, my name is Kenzie Dodds and I'm excited to run you through the EpicReact.Dev workshop on advanced React patterns. It's going to be great. I love this workshop. People are always blown, their minds are blown when I show them this material, and I'm excited to blow your mind, hopefully, in some way. And in general, just help you make better abstractions. That's the whole goal of the patterns, is just to help you see ways to build your abstractions in a way that's more maintainable. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'll share my screen here really quick. So if you're new here, we're doing these EpicReact live streams for the next couple of days while the sale is still on. Speaking of which, if you have not picked up your license to EpicReact.Dev, now is a great time to do it because there's a great 20% discount on the course for the next 7 days and 13 hours. So don't miss this. You will be sad if you do. And if you're like, what the devil is this? Then go to EpicReact.Dev, watch the tour, and you can watch my more in-depth reviews from these live streams that I've been doing the last couple of days. So I have done live streams on the fundamentals, React hooks, advanced React hooks, and today is advanced React patterns. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a review, and then if anybody has questions about anything, then you can ask me on the Discord, which you can find. I believe there's a link in the YouTube channel description, but it's kcd.im/discord. Will get you to the Discord. So I'll have this open to answer questions after I finish the review. And with that, let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling. So the Advanced React Patterns is another one of the workshops that I've given many times in many forms, and it's been just really solidified for the purpose of the recorded self-paced version of the workshop. You can find the repository here. It's open source, so if you want to dig through this a little bit to get an idea of what you're going to learn here, then feel free to do that. Oh, this is Advanced React hooks. My bad. Whoop, patterns. There we go. Yeah, so this one's also open source. They're all open source. And you can dig through this a little bit to get an idea of what is offered here. And yeah, let's go through it. So this is actually a project, a repo that you set up locally and you run through exercises and stuff. And when you run it, it'll pop open this. This is your app for your exercises as you go through. We have 6 exercises. And there are extra credits for each one of these. So the first is the context module functions. This one is probably, I think it's the most recent addition to this workshop. That may or may not be true. But in any case, it is a more recent addition. It's something that I learned from Dan Abramoff as he was talking about how Facebook manages their context and utility functions and things like that. And so the basic idea is you have a special function. Here, let me see if in their background information. Right, yeah. So often we have utility functions for the state reducer or the reducers that we expose for, in our context. And there are problems with those utility functions as people typically do them. And that's what I talk about in the workshop. And so I show you an alternative that has some nice benefits. And I talk about all of that in the workshop. And then also there are a couple of examples of real world situations where this is in use. And that's actually one of the cool things about the patterns workshop is I show you, okay, so here's the pattern and here's a link to an open source library or some open source code that you can go look at and see that this is actually in use by some real world code. So that is the context module functions for helping you organize your modules or your contexts. And then we get into compound components, and most of the rest of the, or a bunch of the workshops exercises use this toggle button. So we go really contrived, really simple, so that you can get a good understanding of the pattern itself. And then later, when we build the bookshelf app in our last workshop, which is actually 4 workshops, but in that last one, we actually apply this pattern in that real world scenario. So you get a good idea of what it's actually like there. So yeah, I explain what compound components are, and then you have an exercise to build this as a compound component. So technically it works right now, but the API could be improved. Yeah, and then you have this button is on and off and stuff. And then there are a bunch of extra credits for this one too, which is kind of fun as well. So lots of fun stuff here, but we want to make things a little bit more flexible, and so we take it to the next level by using context to share this implicit state. So you can look forward to that. And then one of my own, not really inventions, I didn't make this one up. I actually was having a conversation with a friend, Jared Forsyth. I just ran into him in an airport one day, and I was working on Downshift.JS, which you can take a look at here. That's where I learned most of these patterns and implemented them, was from Downshift. And so I was in the middle of creating this, and Jared suggested that I do something like this. And so this is where I'd never seen this before. Jared just kind of pulled it out of a hat, I think. And so I implemented it here, and now this is a pretty common pattern. It's prop collections and getters. And yeah, that one's a pretty interesting one for common collection of props that are applied to different elements that are typically rendered when you're using this particular hook. So yeah, we've got extra credit for the prop getters on that one. And then we have our state reducer, one of my personal favorites. This is another one that I built into Downshift, and I'd never seen it before. I think somebody told me later that ReasonML, the React Reason project, actually has this feature built into all of the components, I guess. I've never looked at that, but it's a pretty cool pattern. It gives people a lot of control, and it's implemented in Downshift.js. And so you can learn how. This one will really blow your mind. It's awesome. Very, very cool. Cool pattern here. And we've got a couple extra credits for that also. And then control props. This one is like sweet. I love this. This is fantastic. So yeah, basically, you know how inputs can be controlled. You can set the value, and then you have to have an on change to handle that. This is how you implement that in your own components, and it gives you a lot of power and flexibility. And so I show you how to make your components both controlled and uncontrolled at the same time. So enabling both of those APIs, just like the input element is. So that is the advanced React patterns that we learn about. There are a couple other things you might term as patterns that we learn about in the React performance workshop. But yeah, these are the things that we focus on for, like, let's talk about how to make our abstractions really nice. So yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to share as far as a review of these patterns or these exercises here. Of course, we do have the welcome and the outro and all of these, like, we've got several videos for each one of these. So yeah, it's a good time. I think that, yeah, and actually the control props is quite interesting with the special warnings and stuff that you can add for people using your abstraction. So it's good, it's fun. And now I'm going to go off and answer some questions, and then we can wrap things up for today. So feel free to join us at kcd.im/discord to ask any questions that you have about really anything, but mostly focused on Epic React. And then we can wrap things up. Yeah, still into React hooks. That's okay. It takes a while to get through this stuff. I understand. All right. How do you debug a React application? Debugger in React DevTools extension. That's how I do it. Yeah, I don't have, so throughout the workshop, you'll see me give some debugging tips and things, but I don't have a specific exercise like here's how you debug this. The React Performance Workshop, I will show you how to identify what's causing performance problems, and so you'll see different exercises for that. So yeah, that's that. And the testing section will help you a lot with that too. Thanks, Jacob. Just saw a compound components video on Egghead today. Cool. Was it by me? Because I do have this workshop. Some of this material is recorded on Egghead as well as on Front-End Masters. In both cases, it's quite old, and I think they're both still using class components and things. And so, yeah, it's great if you want to go through that stuff too. That's awesome. But the main difference is this is actual workshop exercises, whereas those are just like videos that you watch. So inverse control related, yeah. So like lots of these different patterns are related in some way to inversion of control. So I'll just paste a link here for a blog post about that. IOC, inversion of control. Great concept, programming concept. I don't know. There we go. So go read that if you want to learn a little bit more about that. Not sure about this useRef usage here. Oh, cool. So this is from the state reducer pattern. Oh, right. Yeah. So we were going to talk about this in office hours, but this is a totally legit place to ask about this. So I'll pull this up here really quick. This is the state reducer. That'll be in our final 05 right here. Okay. So here is the state reducer final version. So don't peek too much if you don't want it to get spoiled. But the basic idea is here we have this use toggle hook. And then I want to be able to configure this to have an initial on value. So if I say initial on is true, then I can say, hey, initially I want this toggle value to be on. So if I save that and then come over here to localhost 3000, go to the state reducer final, and you'll see that it's initially on. If I set that initial on to false, then it is initialized as off. So the value in doing things this way with initial on is that, like, let's say that I change here. Actually, I'll just give you an example. Let's do initial on and set initial on. And we'll initialize this to false. Or here, we'll do it, initialize it to true. And then I'll have just a button initial on, true, false. Okay, great. And on click initial or set initial on, and we'll just toggle it. Okay, and something went wrong. Oh, right there. Okay, cool. So now if I come over here, we'll see that initial on is set to true, and now I can toggle it to false, and that'll trigger a re-render. But you notice that the on value doesn't change, and if I click on reset, it doesn't reset to true. So here's the reason why, or here's the question. The question is, why are we using useRef to get that initial on value? Why don't we just say that initial state would just be initial on, right? Wouldn't that be easier to do it that way, right? That makes sense to me. But with the way that we have this set up, we actually, and we'll want to set this right there. So now we're passing that initial on value. The way that we have this set up, we can actually change the initial on after the initial time. So we can come over here, and if I change this from true to false, and now I click reset, well, it's borked actually. Let me see, components changing uncontrolled. Ah, man, let me think. See if I can figure out why that's happening. Initial on is false. Huh, that's weird. Which element is experiencing that? I didn't expect this to happen, so hold on a second. Yeah, so the input is switching from uncontrolled, but the input should be controlled. On should be false. Oh, right, sorry, my bad. This should be on. There we go, and on. There we go, let's try that again. All right, yeah, so we initialize it to true. There we go. Let's back up. So it initializes to true, and then if I change the initial on state in my parent component to false, and then I click reset, it's actually going to go to false, okay? But when I reset, I want it to go to the initial state. So when I say initial on, that's like when this mounts, this is the initial state. That initial should never change for the lifetime of the component, the lifetime of the hook. As long as this component's still alive, that initial should be unchanged. And so that is what we're trying to accomplish with by using a useRef here, is that we only care about the initial state of this prop, and we don't care about any updates. We're just going to ignore the updates. And so by putting it inside of a ref, then like we can pass this initial on value, and if it changes over time, it doesn't matter because the ref doesn't care about this initial value that you provide it after the initial render. And so this is the only way that we can really accomplish an initial state, is by putting it into a ref and just keeping it that way forever. And so here now we can say initial on and initial state. I think that's what that was. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's right, because initial state is what we get up here. Very good. Okay, cool. So now with that, I can refresh, and my initial on is true. That's what I configured it to be. But if I switch that value after the thing has been mounted, now clicking reset will not should not do that. Dang it. Okay, switch it to false, reset. It's still broken. Did I not save this or something? Hold on a second. We'll figure this out. Initial state. Let's get rid of the object there. Initial state. There we go. Okay, so we get our initial state is on is true, and then we re-render this, and on is still true. So when I click reset, on should still be true, but it switches. What the devil? That initial state, on is true. I'm not sure why that's happening. What? Okay, hold on. Initial state. We'll debug this together, don't worry. Switch that, and then I hit reset. Am I looking at the right file? I'm pretty sure I am. That console log, reset. When I click reset, get resetter props. And we apply that to the reset button. Something's off here. Huh. Yeah, so it should reset to be on because that's what the initial state was, and that's what it is right here. I'm not sure why this this line doesn't seem to be running. Oh, I'm calling reset. Hold on a sec. Oh, that's right. We've got a state reducer going on. Oh, okay, this makes sense now. So, yeah, sorry, I forgot which exercise I was working in. So, we have this toggle reducer. You'll notice that this console log was never being run. And that is because we're not using the built-in toggle reducer. We're providing our own, which is a totally awesome feature of this exercise that we're learning. But we aren't using that. So if I switch this off, we'll get rid of that. Or here, we'll just get rid of it right here. Now this will operate as expected. So we refresh here. The initial on is true. Even if I change what that initial on prop is, I don't care because when I click reset, it will stay initial on is true. And that's why we do the ref, is to make sure that any change to that initial property will not impact the functionality of the component, which is to reset it to its initial state. Okay, whew. Sorry about that. Hopefully that didn't dissuade you from believing that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, great, good times. Thanks for asking the question. Took us on a fun little journey. So, yeah, sweet. Do we need to learn about the old patterns to better understand the patterns used on hooks? So that's a great question, Ishmael. I think that having experience with the older patterns will give you appreciation for the new stuff that we get with hooks. But just like I remember when I was a kid, like I would ask my parents, you know, like, well, that's a bad example. But anyway, experiencing pain will help you appreciate the lack of pain, but you don't have to experience the pain to be able to be productive and stuff. So yes, you don't have to learn HOCs or render props to better understand hooks, but if you have experienced them, then you'll appreciate hooks more. Now, one thing kind of alongside that, I have this talk that I gave, why React hooks, which I will paste to you right now. And this talk, yeah, I think this recording was no good. So this recording is probably the best. But in this one, I show you like, hey, here are the problems with the different patterns that we really like about React right now. And hooks just solve all of those problems. So yeah, so I don't really talk about render props at all because there are some use cases for render props, but they are few and far between now that we have hooks. We do actually get into higher order components in the performance workshop just a little bit. We touch on that in an extra credit. So that's kind of interesting and fun. Any other payment methods? Tarun wants to know. So we don't right now, but I know that I saw a tweet from Joel Hooks saying that he just finished Stripe Connect, or what is that? Is that what that's called? Whatever, the Stripe checkout. And so I guess he's probably still working on that. Eventually that'll come out. It's a plan, not a promise kind of thing. And then he also mentioned to me a while ago that eventually we will add support for PayPal. So that's asked a lot, so that'll come eventually. But right now, all that's available is what you see on the website. And I can't really give anything, any hard dates or anything like that. If I had to guess, it's not going to happen before the sale's over. Okay. Yeah, email support and they can help you with any problems like that. Yep, just like Jacob said. Okay. I did it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad that that explanation helped, even with the winding road of my explanation there. In the hooks workshop, I didn't put anything specific on useref, but we actually covered useref in the basic React hooks. But yeah, we could probably I could probably add something specific to useref in an extra credit or something. Maybe this one would be actually a pretty good place to put it. Yeah, in fact, I used to call this, I used to have a name for this pattern. It was state initializers. And I took it out of the workshop, and I could put it back in as an extra credit. The problem was that this workshop was too long, and so I had to cut things out. But I could put this back in as an extra credit without any trouble. And it looks like, yeah, this is where I first use it. That's right. So we go from, what's exercise 4? From prop collections and getters to state reducer, and I used to have state initializers as an exercise right between those two. So I could probably actually just have initial on as my initializer, and then just add an extra credit to this one. It's like, this doesn't really have anything to do with this state reducer, but here's an extra thing. I have extra credits like that all the time. Yeah, so good feedback. If you want to file an issue so I don't forget to do that eventually, then by all means, please do. Okay, cool. Do a small session on debugging. Yeah, so I don't do Redux. You'll never see content about Redux coming from me. But yeah, you'll find lots of content on Redux from other people though. So you can go find stuff. Okay, cool. So it looks like we're wrapping up. That was fun. Thanks everybody for hanging out. And let me just wrap things up by saying we have another EpicReact.Dev review of the React Performance Workshop coming at you in 24 hours. Good times. It's going to be fun. And yeah, the sale is still available. It'll be available for the next a couple days. Yep, 7 days and 13 hours. So definitely don't miss out on that. It's going to be awesome. And with that, I think we're done here. See y'all later. Thanks for hanging out and have a wonderful epic day. Bye.